The panic is happening live on television on the ultra-left MSNBC, and it is absolutely glorious.
If somebody says a woman being raped doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, it's okay to call that person out and demand that candidates distance themselves from those people. If you want to rule, over a party and win elections.
That's Joe Scarborough, the one-time cheerleader par excellence for Joe Biden, the one who told MSNBC's dwindling audience that this was the best Biden ever the day before he melted down on live TV before the eyes of the nation. Yeah, that same Joe Scarborough, he's now freaking out that the Democrats are about to implode as a viable national party, precisely because of their massive lurch to the cultural Marxist left. They're openly admitting that their party is in shambles and that it's only going to get worse. Stick them to the very end of this video and butter the popcorn, because we're about to see the latest Democrat defection to the GOP and why more and more members of the legacy media are starting to recognize, to their horror, that those defections are just beginning. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, celebrating yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change this country in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. So let me start by setting the scene here, because there's a whole series of events that led to that live meltdown that we just saw on MSNBC, or MS Now, as they're called, since NBC doesn't want to have anything to do with this failing left-wing propaganda outlet. Julian Epstein, he's a longtime Democrat operative. He's not some random backbencher. He served as chief counsel to the House Judiciary Committee. He worked to elect Hillary Clinton. Julian Epstein, don't confuse it, right? Julian Epstein is establishment Democrat royalty. And he just announced in an op-ed in the New York Post that he is done. He's out. He's supporting Mike Rogers, the Republican, in the Michigan Senate race against the radical Islamic Marxist Abdul El-Sayed. Now, as many of you know, El-Sayed was but the latest in a string of victories for the progressive Marxist wing of the Democrat Party, the so-called DSA wing, the Democrat Socialists of America. They are not socialists. They are communists. They are full-blown Marxists. They are indeed in the midst of a hostile takeover of the Democrat Party, and it's leaving many of the party's traditional establishment no choice but to leave, to defect over to the Republicans.
This is where the party's going. This is not a party I want to have anything to do with. My piece in the New York Post today basically says that I'm jumping ship, that I am going over to the Republican side in the Michigan Senate race, and I'm supporting Mike Rogers. And this is because I think the Democrats have gone off the deep end. I think the lunatics are in charge of the asylum. I think that there is no room in the tent for people that want to destroy our Constitution. There's no room in the tent for people that want to align themselves with radical Islam. There's no room in the tent for people that want to align themselves with anti-Semitism. And there's no room in the tent, I think, in my view, for people that don't have any interest in building for the next generation, but only want to redistribute what others have created, and want to basically tear down the free market that has been the most effective anti-poverty liberation machine that human beings have ever invented. If you want to start taking these lunatic positions, then I'm just not going to be part of it. And I suspect this isn't about me. I suspect you're going to see a large group of Democrats starting to defect. I think this is what you're watching in real time here is a party that is jumping off a cliff. And I just don't intend to jump off the cliff with them.
Now, that was brilliant. Welcome home, by the way, as Rush used to say. Welcome home to the party of American greatness, the party of innovation and industry, the party of tradition, the party of true tolerance and diversity, all united under the banner of American exceptionalism, American patriotism. Now, at the heart of this disavowal of the Democrats is the rise of a radical Islamo-Marxist Twitch streamer by the name of Hassan Piker. Now, if you don't follow the streaming world, Hassan Piker is basically the face of the young, hyper-online Marxist left. And he's been out there openly campaigning for Abdul El-Sayed, the very same Democrat Senate candidate running against Mike Rogers in Michigan. And let's just say that as a streamer, Piker has a history of saying things that would make even the most jaded political operative wince. Back in 2019, he said America, quote, deserved 9/11. As it would turn out, that ain't nothing. When the topic of October 7th came up, the day Hamas slaughtered, raped, and kidnapped over 1,000 Israelis, Piker reportedly suggested that it really didn't matter, quote, in the grand scheme of things, whether those rapes even occurred. And that's just par for the course with this guy. Needless to say, this association with El-Sayed that El-Sayed has with Piker is already crippling his campaign. Enter Joe Scarborough and the panic at MSNBC. They are now realizing that the Democrats' radical turn to the Marxist left is going to destroy them as a viable political party. We've got the whole rant. Wait until you see this. But first, who loves sushi? I know I do. I am a huge, my wife's from Japan. My whole family loves sushi, as do a growing number of Americans. In fact, over the last 2 decades, raw fish consumption has exploded. Sushi bars are everywhere. Grocery stores and gas stations sell it, and millions of people now eat raw fish weekly. But there is a hidden risk most people never think about: parasites. Salmon's one of the worst. It's one of the most popular fish worldwide, but it naturally contains more than 70 parasites. Now, most are tiny and nearly impossible to see, and they're making their way into the human body. Once inside, parasites can hide for years while frequently laying eggs before any symptoms appear. This is why many physicians are raising awareness about parasite exposure. Dr. Peter McCullough recommends doing a parasite cleanse at least once a year as a preventative measure. The wellness company offers a hard-to-access RX parasite cleanse, USA compounded ivermectin and mebendazole. Ivermectin paralyzes the parasite's nervous system, while mebendazole starves them. Each capsule contains 25 milligrams of ivermectin and 250 milligrams of mebendazole, lab tested for quality. And you can now get a more budget-friendly 45 capsule option that costs $250 less, giving you 2 21-day parasite cleanse cycles. Same formula as the original, just a smaller quantity. Head on over to twc.health/Turley and use code Turley to save $52 off plus free shipping, USA residents only.
But please, I don't need people telling me, oh, you have to just turn a blind eye to people saying that women getting raped on October 7th didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. No, Americans aren't going to support that. This is not about me. This is about the Democrats, once again, fumbling the football on the 2-yard line when they have a chance to make great gains, but being so woke, I don't know if you want to call it woke 1, woke 2, or woke 3, but being too woke to call out the obvious. I swear to God. It's crazy that we're even having this conversation. If somebody says a woman being raped doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, it's okay to call that person out and demand that candidates distance themselves from those people. If you want to rule, over a party and win elections. If somebody says going to a rally the day after Hamas slaughters more Jews than any time since the Holocaust, it's okay for Chuck Schumer. It's okay for Hakeem Jeffries to call that despicable and demand that people distance themselves from that. That's okay. So why are we bringing this up now? We're bringing this up now because it seems an awful lot like what was happening in 2024 when Democrats couldn't get out of their own way to win an election they should have won.
Now, regardless of that blatantly stupid take on the 2024 election, there was no way Democrats, especially with Kamala Harris, were going to win that. There was no way. The data all showed not only was Trump going to win, he was going to win the popular vote as well. I mean, think about Biden's pathetic record that preceded that election, 2024 election, was so abysmal. Note there is not a single Democrat out there right now ever mentioning the Biden years. They're trying to gaslight you into to literally forgetting that Biden ever existed. There is no one out there touting the Biden. Biden was such an abject national disaster. They're doing everything they can to make sure you never, especially Joe Scarborough, by the way. But regardless, Scarborough and all the other leftists over at MSNBC are flipping out because they're reading the tea leaves. Remember, these are establishment Democrats. These aren't the far left DSA Democrats. These are establishment. A lot of the DSA, like Joy Reid and so forth, the DSA types, they've been kind of forced out of MSNBC, interestingly enough. But these establishment Democrats are seeing Democrat operatives like Julian Epstein leaving the party over this radical lurch to the left, and they know that there are plenty more to follow. James Carville, of all people, the architect of Bill Clinton's successful campaign, he's out there repeatedly saying that if Hassan Piker is the future of the party, he's done. He's gone. He wants nothing to do with a party that is openly embracing ethno-Marxism and plans to gut the Constitution, which they consider to be racist and white supremacist, and then, of course, gut every constitutionally protected institution along with it. Van Jones of the Obama administration, he's warning about the very same thing. He's done with the Democrats if Piker is the new face of that party. Bill Maher, John Fetterman, same thing. The list goes on and on and on. And you could see why, if you just align the proposals of these DSA candidates with what's known as the 80-20 window, right? There are certain political positions in this country that garner 80% of agreement. 80% of Americans agree on. 80%, while 20% of the most radical fringe disagrees with them. So what is that 80%? Well, voter ID, for example, border security, common sense limits on immigration, energy independence, manufacturing sovereignty, keeping biological men out of women's sports, and, of course, condemning mass rape and murder, right? And time after time after time, the modern, increasingly Marxist Democrat Party keeps planting its flag on the 20 side of that equation. They keep siding with the fringe, the streamers, the DSA co-chairs who say that, the October 7th massacre was inevitable, things like that, instead of the overwhelming 80% majority of the American public who find such positions utterly repulsive. Another way of looking at this through the 80-20 window is that DSA policy proposals consistently split the left down the middle, right? We talk about this a lot on the channel. About 50% of Democrats are really all for the radical vision of these DSA candidates. But the other 50%, the other half, the Scarboroughs, the Carvilles, the Bill Mahers, the Fettermans, they want nothing to do with it, which is exactly what we just saw with this high-ranking Democrat operative, Julian Epstein, officially leaving the party and endorsing the Michigan Republican Mike Rogers. Now, if you divide the overall electorate into 50% Democrat and 50% Republican, forget independents because they lean generally one way or they lean towards one of the two parties. So you got 50% on the left who are Democrats, 50% on the right who are Republicans. Okay, that's our electorate. If you split the left 50-50, what are you left with? If you split the left 50, what are you left with? The best the DSA candidates can hope for is 25% of the overall electorate, which is almost exactly mirrors the 80-20 window. There will always be significantly more people to vote against what the DSA is offering than vote for it, except where the far left congregates in near monopolistic numbers like in New York City or Chicago or LA or Seattle. And what we're finding is that more and more Democrats they're just not waiting. they're not waiting until the lunatics in their party drive it off the cliff. They're getting out now. It's the same pattern we see again and again and again. The Democrat Party keeps choosing the radical fringe over the common sense majority, and one by one, the reasonable voices are heading for the exits. That's the future of a party that has literally, with every DSA candidate, guaranteed its own eventual extinction. So what do you guys think? What do you think? Do you think the Democrats are destroying themselves? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. Love you guys. God bless. Someday your kids are going to ask you what actually happened in the world, and I want you to have an answer, not a shrug. That's why I'm opening the Civ Cosm Masterclass live for the first time in years. Seats are limited. Get on the wait list below before it fills.